It's clear that it is love and kindness, in the sight of blindness that it is. God's love and the failing brightness that's given us hope and no escape from the crisis. Apocalypse.
A chance encounter. The unlikely hero. The saint's beginning. They called him the wanderer in the few villages he passed through. No one knew his name, his origin, or why he traveled the war-torn lands. He wore simple clothes, brown pants, a loose white shirt, worn boots. No armor, no weapons, just a small pack and a walking stick that looked more like a gnarled tree branch than a weapon. He was not imposing. Average height, average build. His most striking feature was his eyes, golden, with flecks of light that seemed to dance when he smiled. And he smiled often, even in these dark times. Another day, another step, he would say to himself, traversing the scorch line that marked the boundary of Anunnakra territory. Just need to find somewhere to sleep that isn't crawling with shadow beasts. The village of Asheville lay ahead, a cluster of thatched huts at the edge of the crater of whispers. The saint had heard tales of this place from a traveling merchant, poor folk, taxed to the bone, living under the shadow of the demon army. As he approached, something felt wrong. The air was too quiet. No birds sang, no voices called, just the whisper of ash falling like snow. "Hello," he called, entering the village square. "Anyone home? I was hopping to trade for some food." The first scream came from his left. A woman burst from a hut, clutching a child. Behind her, a shimmering darkness moved, fays, pelt stalkers, shadow veil cloaks making them barely visible in the fading light. "Run," the woman screamed at the saint. "They're taking children for the Eclipse Citadel." The saint stood frozen for just a moment, not out of fear but surprise. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was just passing through. "Well, that's inconvenient," he muttered, dropping his pack. "I really just wanted some dinner." The first contact. 3 stalkers materialized fully as they surrounded the woman and child. 7 more emerged from the shadows of other huts. The village was being raided, not uncommon in these dark times, but rarely this bold in daylight. The saint sighed. "Look, fellas," he called out, his voice carrying across the square. "I don't know if you're lost or just hungry, but these folks don't look like they have anything worth taking." The stalkers turned as one, their eyes, hollow voids that seemed to drink in light, focused on him. One hissed, a sound like steam escaping a vent. "I'll take that as a no deal," the saint said, rolling up his sleeves. "Fair warning, I don't like bullies, never have." The lead stalker pounced, 30 FT of muscle and shadow launching at the saint with Eclipse daggers glinting. What happened next would later be told around campfires throughout the realm. The saint, instead of dodging or fleeing, simply raised his hand as if to say, "Stop." The stalker froze midair. Its asterisk phantom echo duplicate flickered, then began to unravel like burnt thread. The stalker's eyes widened, pupils expanding to voids, before its shadow veil snapped with a sound like tearing silk. The stalker collapsed, fur igniting into black, oily flames that left only ash. The square fell silent. "Well," the saint said, looking at his hand with surprise, "that's new." The remaining stalkers hesitated, communicating in clicks and whispers. They had never seen one of their own fall so easily. "That was an accident, I think," the saint said, examining his hand. "I just wished it would stop." He looked up at the remaining stalkers. "Would you all kindly do the same? I'm really not looking for trouble." The stalkers responded by attacking en masse, 10 of them converging on the lone figure in the square. The saint moved with a speed that belied his ordinary appearance. He sidestepped the first attack, touched a second stalker on the shoulder. It disintegrated like the first. He ducked under a third, touched its haunch as it passed. Another pile of ash. "Interesting," he murmured, almost to himself. "Feels like taking something away. Their shadow, maybe." A stalker slashed at him with Eclipse dagger. The blade passed through his shirt, leaving a thin cut across his chest. Golden light, not blood, seeped from the wound. "Ah, that stings a bit," he said, looking down at the cut with mild curiosity. The wound closed almost instantly. "So I'm not completely invulnerable. Good to know." He began to move with purpose now, no longer just reacting. He stepped into the largest concentration of stalkers, his hands moving in patterns too fast to follow. Each touch, each brush of his fingers against shadow fur ended a life in spectacular, gruesome fashion. The stalker's phantom echo duplicates split the air with screams as they unraveled. Their fur ignited into black flames. Their bones turned to ash midair. By the time the last stalker fell, the saint stood in a circle of ash. His shirt was torn, his breathing slightly elevated, but he was otherwise unharmed. The woman and child he saved stared in disbelief. The other villagers, who had been hiding, began to emerge. Power. The saint looked at his hands again, turning them over, flexing his fingers. "I don't understand," he said to no one in particular. "I was just trying to push that creature away and it was like touching a shadow that's too solid. It just came apart." An old man approached, leaning on a gnarled staff. "You are blessed," he said simply, "or cursed, depending on who you ask these days." The saint smiled. "Bit of both, maybe. Seems useful, at least." He looked toward the horizon, where the shadow of that floating spire darkened the sky. "Though I imagine there might be more where those came from." "The demon army will send more," the old man confirmed. "When they lose scouts, they investigate." The saint nodded, picking up his pack. "Well then, I should probably keep moving. I appreciate the warning, though." "Wait," the woman called. "You saved us. At least stay for a meal. It's the least we can offer." The saint paused, then smiled. "I won't say no to that, but then I should move on. Don't want to bring more trouble to your doorstep." As they led him to the village's central hearth, he flexed his hand again, watching with fascination as a faint golden glow emanated from his palm. "So," he said conversationally to the old man, "you wouldn't happen to know if there are any books or scrolls around here about whatever this is, would you? Always been a quick study, and I'd hate to waste a perfectly good new trick." What the saint didn't know was that his perfectly good new trick was just the beginning. The golden glow would grow, the power would expand, and the demon army would learn, to their eternal regret, that they had awakened something they could not control. Sparkle's crown fire knew dizzy.